Welcome back, everyone. Dr. Lindner here. Let's take a look at the 11 systems. So this was another quiz question on one of the McGraw-Hill past exams in my class. Um, and let's take a look. So it's again like a drag and drop where you'll have these terms all listed on the side. You drag and drop them next to the appropriate systems. So right here, in the first picture, we are looking at the skeletal system. And when we talk about the skeletal system, I will break it up into two different parts. Let me change the color here. We'll make this red. We will focus on everything we see in the center, which is called the axial skeleton. And then we'll focus on the upper extremity and we'll focus on the lower extremities. And we call that the appendicular skeleton. And again, I'll repeat these terms when we go over the skeleton next week. So skeleton, we will talk about the axial skeleton, which is more in the central location, and then the appendicular, which is the upper and lower extremity. Skeleton is really important because it's where muscles are going to attach. Muscles will attach to different parts of your skeleton, and the muscles that attach there are called skeletal muscles. Skeletal muscles, because you have smooth muscle and cardiac muscle as well. So we have skeletal muscle, smooth muscle, and cardiac muscle. The muscles that attach to your skeleton are referred to as skeletal muscles. They are voluntarily controlled or consciously controlled. You can actively move your elbow, but you can't actively dilate the muscular part of a woman's uterus, or you can't constrict your blood vessels on command, right? Skeleton is important because it's a bank, it is a reservoir, it's a reserve for minerals. Our body can store a lot of minerals in our bone, especially calcium. Okay, let's look at the second picture. We have the brain and the spinal cord, as well as nerves. So when we're talking about what's centrally located, which is the brain and the spinal cord, that and only that, the brain and the spinal cord, only these two, is referred to as the CNS. And the CNS stands for the central neural system. The central neural system is the brain and the spinal cord. And then everything peripheral to that, everything that we see here in the upper extremity and everything coming out of the spinal cord here, we call that the PNS. Stands for the peripheral neural system. So the central neural system is the brain and spinal cord. The peripheral neural system is all the nerves, even nerves that come off of the brain, those are called cranial nerves, and nerves that come off of the spinal cord, those are all part of the peripheral neural system. The neural system is the very, very first system that develops embryologically. So after sperm and egg come together, it's not the heart that develops first, right? A lot of people think on an ultrasound you're going to see a heartbeat, but before the heart, the neural system develops somewhere around day 18 after conception. The respiratory system. Here we're looking at the upper respiratory tract, and then below that is the lower respiratory tract, right? We often hear of people that have an upper respiratory tract infection or they have a lower respiratory tract infection. Or they say, that Delta variant of COVID was targeting the lower respiratory tract and that Omicron was attacking and focused more on the upper respiratory tract. And that's probably why Omicron is much, much less of a severe situation with far less complications than the Delta variant had. All right, then we look at the circulatory system. By the way, if you think about why do we breathe to take in oxygen, and all that oxygen needs to get into the cell. Here's the nucleus, and it needs to get into this organelle called the mitochondria. And the mitochondria is responsible for producing ATP, or energy, adenosine triphosphate. But you need oxygen in order to do that. So we breathe in oxygen for the sole purpose of producing ATP, and then the exhaust that the mitochondria give off is carbon dioxide, CO2, which is what we exhale. And in fact, when you learn about energy production within the human body, it's called cellular respiration, because it does take in O2 and it pushes out CO2. Pretty cool. The circulatory system is the heart and the arteries and veins, and the main purpose of the heart is to pump the oxygen that we breathe in. It wants to pump the oxygen into all the cells and tissues of the body for energy production. And then once the blood becomes deoxygenated, it has to find a way to get back into the heart, where the heart pumps it to the lungs. Lungs pick up oxygen, drive that oxygenated blood back to the heart, and then the heart pumps it up to the brain and down to your muscles for energy again. And then once it's depleted of oxygen, it finds a way into the venous system, back into the right side of the heart, and then from the right side of the heart back to the lungs to pick up oxygen. From the lungs, it gets pumped to the left side of the heart, and then from the left side of the heart back to all the body parts for energy again. The urinary system is made up of 2 kidneys, 2 ureters, a urinary bladder, and then the exit route, which is the urethra. The urethra, not the ureters. Don't confuse ureters with urethra. If you look at the word ureter, what I tell my students is the word ureter has 2 E's, and that's because you have 2 kidneys. So each ureter comes out of each kidney. And then urethra only has 1 E, and you only have 1 urethra for both males and females. Then we look at the digestive system. The digestive system looks like we have the small intestine here, and then we have the large intestine, also known as the colon, that goes like that. Looks like we have the stomach, we have the liver, right? So all these digestive organs for the purpose of breaking down carbohydrates, proteins, and fats to help us make, again, to help us make ATP. So the only reason why we eat is for energy production. So you got to look at the foods that you're consuming, and hopefully it's high octane food and it's real food, right? Stuff that either grows off of trees or plants, and or stuff that grows off from the ground, or things that come from animals. That's real food. Anything that comes in boxes and bags, and it may look like food, it may taste like food, but they're just snacks, okay? Not lots of nourishment coming through them. The integumentary system is the skin, hair, and nails. Skin, hair, and nails, and it protects. It really is the first line of defense. It's the first line of your immune system, is that skin, right? It's that external barrier of the human body. So it's designed to keep things that are on the outside out, and helps to keep things inside the body in. That's what makes 3rd-degree burns very dangerous, because you're losing the skin and exposing yourself, exposing the inside of the body to the outer world. And you're prone to bacterial infections and viruses with that. We will talk about the endocrine system in Anatomy 1. We will talk about the integumentary system in Anatomy 1. We will also be talking about endocrine system are these glands that produce hormones, whether it's your thyroid gland, whether it's the thymus gland, whether it's the kidneys, whether it's the pancreas, whether it's your pituitary gland. We will learn about all these glands, the hormones they produce, which are chemical messengers, and the functions that they help to create. When we cover the muscular system, we will also cover the muscular system by doing the axial muscles, and then we'll look at the appendicular muscles. Muscles attached to the skeleton, they contract, they generate heat, they help us move, very important. We will also go over thoroughly how a muscle actually contracts. We'll go over muscle physiology. It's important to know that. Lymphatics you will do in anatomy and physiology too, but it really is designed to be different filters throughout the body, whether it is the spleen, whether it is all your lymph nodes. They help to filter and clean out and return healthy interstitial fluid back into circulation. So this has showed up on a previous exam. So what is the highlighted structure? So we look here at the center. Is it the central skeleton? Well, I never taught you central skeleton. Is it the peripheral skeleton? Don't confuse central skeleton with the central nervous system. Don't confuse peripheral skeleton with the peripheral neural system. That's what we spoke about, central and peripheral. But in terms of the skeleton, we did learn about the appendicular skeleton and axial. And when we're looking at everything in the center in blue, that is the axial skeleton. Everything that's bone color or tan in the picture, everything else is the appendicular skeleton. So now we're looking at the muscular system and what are the highlighted structures. So are the highlighted structures the rectus abdominis? Rectus abdominis muscles, those are here, so can't be that. Axial muscles, well, axial muscles are going to be on here, so it's not that. Obliques are here, the abdominal obliques. Oblique means diagonal. So the highlighted structure is the appendicular muscles. All right, now what we have here is the brain and the spinal cord. And we know that that is the central neural system. And the central neural system is really Houston control. It is the main control center that regulates everything. So what does the brain and spinal cord do? Is it remove wastes? No. Is it connecting to muscles? No. Not the CNS. However, these, the peripheral neural system, these nerves will connect to muscles. Are they involved in destroying foreign invaders? Well, that's the immune system or the lymphatics. So best answer, control center. All right, now we're looking at these glands here, and it's asking what the highlighted structure is. What is that blue thing right there? Is it the adrenal glands? Well, here are the kidneys. The kidneys are known as renal, right? When someone has renal failure, that's the kidneys. These that are just above them are called the suprarenal glands, aka adrenal. That term add means you're adding something to the kidneys, to the renals. So those are the adrenals, so it can't be that. The liver, we don't even see the liver. The liver would be here. If it was, that's the liver, so it can't be liver. And we know it's not the kidneys. So that blue structure right here, best answer is the pancreas. Pancreas has a lot of interesting functions. It does regulate blood sugar, and it also produces some digestive enzymes to break down your foods. This structure here on the top left is the same as this. This is your thyroid gland, except in this picture, we're looking at it from the posterior, which means from the back side. And then these small little 4 circles behind it are called the parathyroid glands. So there's the thyroid, I'll put a T there for thyroid, and then the parathyroid glands are the 4 circles. This is the uterus. These are the fallopian tubes, and that right there is the ovary. Okay, so that's part of the female reproductive tract. All right, what are we looking here? This highlighted blue structure. Whenever it asks you what is the highlighted structure, you have to look at what is the color that's different than all the others, right? So you have to analyze and go, okay, this looks different than the rest. So is it the aorta? Well, the aorta is that. So it's not the aorta. Is it the thymus? No. Is it the trachea? No, right? It's the heart. That's a give me, straightforward. Okay, now it's pointing to this blue structure here. Remember before I said everything up here is the upper respiratory tract, and then everything from this point down is the lower respiratory tract. So we see upper respiratory tract is the best answer for this. Okay. All right, what's the highlighted organ right here? Large intestine, small intestine, stomach, or liver. Everything here in the middle is, well, it's not the stomach, right? Stomach is here. It's not the large intestine. This is the large intestine here. All of that is large intestine. It's not the liver. That's the liver right there. So it's a small intestine. The small intestine has the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. It's got 3 parts to it. It's between 26 and 27 feet long. Okay, so it's the small intestine. That's the blue. Now, what's the blue here? Is it the small intestine? No. Stomach? No. Liver? Nope. See the arrow there? It's pointing to the large intestine. Food goes this way. It goes up, then it goes across, then it goes down and out. So they call this one the ascending colon. They call this one the transverse colon because it runs transversely. And then they call this one the descending colon because it's now descending. So you have an ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon. Okay, now in the digestive tract here, let me just erase this here. And let's go back to red. Here, the small intestine and the large intestine and the stomach, these are your main digestive organs. But then we have the secondary accessory organs, like the salivary glands in the mouth, that's an accessory organ. The liver is a secondary or accessory organ. And then the pancreas, the liver, the salivary glands, even the gallbladder right there, the G for gallbladder, those are all accessory organs. They are important in the digestive tract, but they're really not part of the tract. They're just secondary accessory organs that are responsible for the breakdown of the food. So here, when they're pointing to the tongue and the salivary glands and the parotid gland and the salivary glands and the liver and the pancreas, and they want to know what those are, all of them are not the liver. They're not all the salivary glands. So now we have to choose between the digestive tract or the accessory digestive organs. It's definitely not the digestive tract, so it would be the accessory digestive organs. Good place to take a break.